On the menu, milk-fed sucking pig in a pickled prune sauce and a Gothic jelly of dark fruits.
That stake should be in his eye. the approved method of killing vampires at this time was the nail through the eye.
Was it?
Yeah.
That's why I'm still alive.
The stake was a bit déclassé. It was only sort of Transylvanian peasants got that.
Right.
Were there any vampires around the Regency?
And there was a short story called The Vampire by a strange man called Dr. Polidori, who was Byron's physician. And that's the first proper vampire story in English. And all subsequent ones are basically imitations and rip-offs of it.
Dr. Polidori's vampire was, in fact, a poorly disguised portrait of Regency bad boy, Lord Byron.
And it's where we get our notion of the romantic vision of the vampire, you know, the thin, sallow-cheeked, attractive, aristocratic person, as opposed to the smelly, cannibalistic peasant, which was the previous folkloric version of the myth. Oh, and of course women as well were seen as vampiric or blood draining. Right, I forgot that.
Ladies and gentlemen, walk right this way for Cupid's Magic Lantern Show. Ah, what a horrible sight! The British aristocracy en masse. Look at them. Let's have a closer look at you. Oh.
To the women, now accustomed to the polite restraint of the Regency drawing room, the phantasmagoria is something of a shock to the system. For full surround effects, water, imitating blood, is splashed from behind.
Well, I see my time on this earth is nearly over. I say goodbye and return to Subterranea. As I do so...
Events like this provide a rare opportunity for the women to let themselves go in the company of the men.
Be ready for me, as I'm a-coming.
Earlier on this evening, as I was walking past the terrace room, I saw Mr. Foxsmith. I saw Mr. Foxsmith and Lady Devonport basically kissing. Mr. Foxsmith had his arms round her and sort of squeezing her. The first 3 buttons of her dress was sort of undone.
In this world of constrained feelings, music plays an essential role. The haunting strains of the glass harmonica had been popular since the 18th century.
We've all been starved of music. We really have music on in modern life almost constantly. And I'm just wondering, is that added to the fact that everyone's very stressed?
Playing music together was the approved channel by which men and women could hint at their feelings for one another.
Delivering a note from Mr. Everett to Miss Hopkins' bedroom with the romantic gesture of a flower to put on her pillow.
In the Regency, a written declaration of feelings was tantamount to an offer of marriage. Mr. Everett has made his move. He's waiting to see how Miss Hopkins will respond.
Thank you very much.
I would like to feel that the chances of you and me having sex are pretty much 99.9.
I think so.
It's on my list of things to do.
I thought you'd never ask. Oh.
With romance at last in their sights, the younger women indulge in another fashionable Gothic pastime, women's archery.
Hey!
Miss Victoria Hopkins has secretly scored a bullseye. Last night, she received a love token from Mr. Everett.
I do really, really like him. I think he's an absolutely fantastic guy. He's genuine, he's warm, he's funny, he's talented.
Miss Hopkins, she was a cracking girl, Anna. She's great, you know. She's a gorgeous girl.
Afternoon, Miss Braun.
Good afternoon. Oh, you're in my spot?
Your spot?
I sit here quite often now.
I think it's my spot too.
Nice day?
Yeah, it's been very pleasant, thank you. And yourself?
Yeah, I hit 2 of the targets, so I'm very happy.
Excellent. Have a nice rest of the
And
afternoon.
you? Have a lovely afternoon.
Miss Braund is less of a catch than Miss Hopkins, but she does have one advantage. Her chaperone is now devoted to the cause of securing Mr. Everett for her.
Then we're going to do a wonderful little one called On How We Cope with Being Bored.
Amateur dramatics allowed for young people to get closer together, so Mrs. Hammond is staging a Gothic play. She's asked Mr. Everett to be the producer.
I've got the giggles now.
She's got a beautiful singing voice, so I've made sure that people hear her voice. And when we were rehearsing, Mr. Gorrell Barnes came out and said, "Oh, who was that singing?" It was my girl, Lisa. She was singing. You know, marvellous voice. So we'll get her noticed.
There's too many people around.
Just once.
They're all in the library, they'll all hear it.
I think Mrs. Hammond takes her role as a chaperone very seriously and is anxious to do the absolute best she can for Miss Braund. And Miss Braund will have an opportunity to show off her grace, charm and talent in the forthcoming show.
Yeah, I would have thought so. I think the positions are going to be this, that, and there. I mean,
OK, that's what we said. Yeah, so she's in the middle. It's a cunning plan. Yes, just, and not many of the others are singing. So she is. In fact, there's only Mr. Everett who will be singing, I think. Yeah, it's only Mr. Everett will sing.
Mr. Everett and Miss Lisa Braund start work on the scenery. As the second richest man in the house, Mr. Everett would be a good catch for Mrs. Hammond's impoverished charge.
The colour that I have chosen for the dress that I will never get.
I see. You're doing a song, aren't you?
I'm doing a song about a dress.
Mrs. Enright was observing that Mrs. Hammond had seems to have cut all the other songs, and perhaps only you are now singing. Which she was like,
I'm really...
perhaps Lisa's meant to be showing off her talents, and Mrs. Hammond's picking off one by one everybody else who's singing.
Even if the Countess had designs on Mr. Everett, Mrs. Hammond has made sure the play won't offer her any advantages.
But she said, what do you want to do, Countess, in this Gothic thing? So I was like, well, Countess is Dracula, perhaps. And she went, OK, and that's it. So I spend the whole time in a coffin on stage like this. Can't touch a man, but I can bite his neck.
Mr. Everett, I think he's very, very funny. I think what you see is what you get. I think he's very upfront. Interesting bloke, really quite fascinating.
Come on, Miss Hopkins. Give it some welly.
With two women on the go, Mr. Everett could soon be faced with a choice.
Oh, please, Mr. Everett.
Or has the choice been made for him?
I got on really, really well with Mr. Everett when I first came in the house, and everybody thought, oh, you know, this is going to go somewhere. But I was walking around the garden one day and I thought, actually, I don't think he's suited to me. He's more suited to Lisa. So I have engineered things, and they're now spending quite a bit of time together and getting on great. And I really hope something does develop, because they're actually very, very well suited.
Oh, God, I'm a sweat now.
Kind of turning into a bit of an Emma character in here, because, you know, I am so bored, I need something to fill my time. So I'm deciding to matchmake, I think.